What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 95 of the Offshore Gamescast. I'm Dave in a new environment.
I'm Dylan in the same old environment.
And I'm Lile in my old environment. But Dave moved, and we are all very happy for him.
I'm different now, and I'm excited.
New place, new Dave.
Your hair definitely blends in more into your background now.
I'm so sorry. Well, it's only just the beginning. Over the coming weeks and months, it's just gonna fill up, and there's gonna be so much shit everywhere.
Is your hair just gonna keep like transforming to fit your background?
I hope so.
Please.
Depending on what I put up that week, it'll be themed accordingly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, please.
Absolutely. Oh, but that'll be to come. That'll be to come. Right now, we have to talk about
Star Wars Jedi Survivor. That's what we're talking about today. That I spent the last week playing for 30 hours. I am tired. I am exhausted, but I got it done. I hit the end of the story.
Don't you love when it gets to that point where you tell people, it's like, I have to go home and play video games. Like, damn it.
I did complain to my roommate a lot. You don't even know. Like, I like playing this game, but I have to play this game. That makes it much less fun.
Yep.
Yeah, it do that.
It do that. But what do we have next week, Dylan?
Next week, Ravenlock. We've been talking a lot about it. It's coming soon. In a week, we'll be there.
We're a little late. Obviously, I moved. Dave didn't really have his access to his computer, so he's gonna get working on those Ravenlock other things.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
A lot of Ravenlock.
But afterwards, on the 23rd, we got Redfall. We get to talk about Redfall.
Gonna be another exciting episode, I guess.
I guess.
And on the 30th.
Nice hype up for the Redfall episode.
Yeah. Redfall. On the 30th, we're gonna talk about After Us.
I don't know what that is, which is exciting.
It's a video game.
It is a video game. You'll see.
Exciting.
I'll talk about it. And and so much Ravenlock. We love
Ravenlock. It's a good game.
I already said that. If you want something a little bit different, on my personal channel, Lile's Indie Corner, I have a new video up, the top 5 indie game art styles. So if you want to go check that out, thank you.
Do it. It's mandatory.
Oh, you're fired.
Yeah, you're fired from watching us or listening to us, whatever you're doing. Speaking of, wherever you are watching or listening to us, whether it is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, you can see some gameplay footage and our faces. Please subscribe, follow us, leave us a review, leave us a comment. It helps a lot. We really do appreciate it.
A lot of constructive criticism. Like a lot of it.
I mean, people do that regardless. Well, if it's constructive criticism, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's very true. All right, then let's talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Some basics. It was developed by Respawn Entertainment, just like the first one, Jedi Fallen Order, and published by EA, Electronic Arts. Released on the 28th of April for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. I actually didn't know until I looked this up that this wasn't released for the old consoles.
We're kind of hitting that point, I think.
Yeah.
And I get why. Because before I get into it, I want to preface everything by saying I'm going to talk about all the technical issues at the end of my review. Because I played it on PC, and if you have looked at the Steam page, you know stuff happened. So I will talk about all of that at the end, and then also have some questions for you that we might want to discuss.
I never know what to put for the platforms because, like, obviously these games are releasing for these consoles, but I mean, you know how they were saying it's like, oh yeah, you can get this game for Xbox and you could play it on your Xbox One. We don't recommend it, but like it'll work. Like that's like I'll put down. Like that's what they say. Like, yeah, get it for the Xbox Series X. That'll be awesome. But like, Yeah, you could play it on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could play it on an Xbox console, I guess. If you have that, just chalk up
I
the
mean,
money, idiot.
games have enough of an issue running just in general now. I think that
Yeah.
we're kind of past the point of those old consoles at this point.
I
Yeah.
don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. So
No.
I think devs then have to make less compromises, and I think
Mhm.
that's, especially for AAA games, it's better that way.
It's harder
Kitty
for this
cat.
generation with the supposed lack of resources and materials to even make consoles and whatnot. So
That's
it's
true.
almost more of an incentive to hold back on really pushing that. But then we all know they're already working on the next generation. It takes years to work on that shit, so
Yeah,
they know when it's gonna end.
Yeah, I
they
think
do.
they get working on that pretty quickly.
They
Feeling
do.
like a good 2028 for the next consoles.
Probably.
Yep, that feels right.
Yeah. But yeah. So Star Wars Jedi Survivor as a concept is a Star Wars Souls-like, just like the first one was an action adventure. You do a lot of exploring, climbing, and a lot of fighting, which is a little bit harder, I guess, on the harder side. And you have your meditation points and stuff. So it's a Souls-like.
It's good. A good stuff. We like these games.
In this case, I actually like it too.
Well, it's the thing, because when I played the first one, Fallen Order, these games had yet to click for me. So I put it on the easiest difficulty, and I fucking had someone wipe my ass all the way through. But now I'm playing it, and I'm excited. I'm so excited to like run through and like actually play it. Uh, I'm so good at this game on normal.
I'm not good at this game, but that's besides the point. So yeah, graphics wise, you have a realistic, as much as Star Wars can be realistic, a realistic graphic style, at least for the human faced people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's absolutely gorgeous when it works. The faces look incredible. Everything matches really well with mouth syncing when that works. And yeah, the environments are also, they are so detailed. There's so much going on, and you can really see they paid so much attention to everything.
You open up that map and it does the thing where it's like, here's the highlighted and the unhighlighted, here's like a red barrier, so this is locked, you can't go yet, and then here's like 30 yellow barriers which are like, come on in.
Yes,
And it's like, oh no.
that's true. I also think the map works much better than in the first game. The first one was so confusing, and this one was much easier to sift through and know where you had to go or were supposed to go. But it definitely does that thing of, okay, where is the story progression? I want to go the other way first.
It
And
feels like
you never know.
based off that first part on Koba, as you're going around, as you're looking at the map, it feels like they're almost like spider tangents, where it's like two spiders are connected by one path, but then you have each has like 8 legs for you to go off in, but like they're both their little own hubs, and it's like, all right, go do all of these, but like only like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 are gonna be like the actual path, and there's just so
Yes.
much shit going on. Only 2 are gonna be the actual path.
I knew that was gonna happen. As
I
soon
was
as
kinda
you started doing
surprised.
that.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took so long to get there.
Well, I was trying to not do it, and then I fucking forgot we were in a fucking explicit podcast.
Yeah, you definitely Kobo is the biggest area of all. That's very much that's very, very open. Every other planet isn't not that open. But I do have to say, with the environments, they did feel a little bit uninspired to me, because the main ones you're on is Kobo, which is a very arid planet. You have very little plant growth and such, and the other one is a desert planet. So you have
Very little plant growth and such.
Yes, exactly. There are areas on Kobo that are different. They did pay attention to that in some cases, but I still feel like when I think of the first one and how different they all were, and you had something like Kashyyyk thrown in there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I missed something. I missed something like that. And I also have to say I just missed something that felt unequivocally like Star Wars. But that's just me. That's the Star Wars nerd in me that wants
Star
that
Wars is hard because it's such a big thing at this point with
yeah.
so many different ports of media, timelines, etc.
And
Where
so many different people who have worked on it too.
it's difficult because it's like you could say something like Jedi Survivor is Star Wars, but if you're only being stuck on 2 planets and they're both very shitty, it's like there's so much more Star Wars that is like stuck to said
Yeah,
person.
you do have a few. I mean, in the beginning, you've already played it. You on Coruscant, for
Yeah.
example. So, but you have a few more. But those are the main two, and those looked not exactly similar, but they were similar enough that my brain was like, okay, I'm seeing the same things over and over
Yeah.
and over again, and I just want something else.
Or at least just like general, it's like, all right, my eyes are tired of seeing like all these muted similar colors
Yeah, exactly.
on 30 hours later.
Yes, yes, is exactly.
Make it 2012. Throw a snow planet in there every fucking 6 hours.
In contrast to that, though, the alien creatures and the design of the alien creatures I really, really love, because I think in a video game you have so much more freedom with that than in like a live action
Oh
thing,
yeah.
or even the animated series, because there they always have to be humanoid at least. And in this game they went a little off course with some of them, and I really like them a lot. And they're I know that in the movies a lot of people really, especially in the prequels, complain about all the CGI and how noticeable it is and blah blah blah. But since it's all CGI in a video game, the creatures just look as good
Mm-hmm.
as the main characters. And I mean all your main characters are still humans or human like. So you don't in your main except for Grease, and he got such a cool update visual wise. I loved him. I loved him so much. I loved this whole thing that he has going on with like a tracksuit, and it was amazing. He just looks really really cool.
Okay.
Dylan is googling who Grease is.
I am. I don't really know
He was the
Star
pilot.
Wars.
He
He was
was
the
the
pilot in the
pilot.
first
Yeah.
game of the Mantis.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
I
the
remember.
forearm guy who makes dinner and he's like, like he's
There
always
you go.
complaining.
Yes.
Yep, I do know that guy. That's not just Star Wars stuff. That's game stuff.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and like in general, the visuals are amazing. They even I think even for a AAA title, they are really really up there. They do feel alien enough for it to be Star Wars, but they are also familiar enough for you to be like, I can connect to these people, and I understand what they are going through.
At some point, you've seen enough Star Wars media or consumed enough to go, oh, I know that. Or 2 hours later, it's like, oh, I know that too. So it's like
Yes.
running around early on. You see like the little, where was he? There was on Kobo. There's this little ship that's stuck in the tar, and there's like one of those little droids with just kind of like the flat head. One of the ones that helped like work on the Mando ship in the first season. So I was like, hey, dumb fuck, hey, what's going on, buddy? And he's like,
Yes.
can you help me with the ship? And I'm like, no. And I walked away.
Yeah, it is very consistent.
Yeah.
It is. There's nothing like where it would be like, this does not feel like Star Wars at all. I just felt like in the environments they could have just, I don't know, I feel like, and that's a very very subjective take, ever since Disney took over, it went a little more, it needs to make sense, and a little less, this is fantastical.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just me getting older and my brain just seeing it differently. I don't know, but that's what it feels like to me, and that's what I see in this game as well. It
It's
I want
really
it to be realistic, and I
it's
don't know why, because it doesn't need to be.
well, it's ironic because you have Disney, who is one of the biggest corporations out there, who ends up buying one of the biggest fictional, most heavily political franchises just to absolutely just cram it and just be like, all right, we're gonna be done with the whole politics thing that's gonna get us like shitholed because we're Disney and family friendly, and we're gonna take everything about this and just put it to mush and make it bright and shiny.
Yes,
That's what they did.
That's what Disney do.
The fucking
In,
Star Wars is all fuck the man, and Disney's like
we are the man.
Mickey Mouse.
But I mean, that was already a problem with the prequels. I do agree, because just
Yeah.
George Lucas and Lucasfilm was already so big by then. But never
Yeah.
mind. But yeah, in sound design, I have. That's where I first thought, okay, this game isn't done, because I feel like the sound design is very bland. You have your typical your lightsaber noises, your blaster noises, you have your ships and all of that. But what I thought was missing, when I compare this to something like God of War, to the new God of War, where in every scene you have your leather that's creaking, or you hear the metal of the weapons if they turn around or something like that. That's completely missing here.
Mm.
It really feels like they took what they knew they needed to, the most recognizable sounds, put those in, and those sound great. They do sound great, but like the little things of just someone moving across grass or something, it feels so bland.
Mm-hmm.
And it does not feel alive in the sound design. That might be because I played it on PC and some things were just broken. That could be it. But it just feels like it wasn't there. It wasn't ready, and it didn't get made. And for a AAA title, I am much more critical of this than I would be of an indie game.
Mm-hmm.
But when I see the production design that it absolutely had, and then my ears are always like, this feels, there isn't enough there to fill the silence.
Mm-hmm.
Like in every movie, you know, every step makes a sound, and all of that. And I feel like so much of that was missing here. And again, maybe that's just because the game glitched out or something. But it was just noticeable for me.
It's something like that can be hard because if you're walking around and you're really trying to bring in that immersive world building, I can definitely see that. But then also looking at it from the aspect of it being like a Souls type game for someone who's mainly so focused on just combat and taking out bosses and such, I feel like that's much less of a focal point to be like.
But what I mean is, I feel like in the action scenes, when you're fighting enemies, that's not, you don't notice that then.
Mm-hmm.
Where I notice it is in the cutscenes. That's what I mean. When people walk around on the ship in a cutscene, there's just no noise that's filling that should be there. All the beeping of the consoles and stuff that we know from the movies, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt too silent in the background for me.
I also was gonna say, like, just being a Souls, like, when I haven't played this, so I'm not entirely sure, like, what it's like. But at least in Elden Ring, when you're running around, like, you are hearing every step. You're hearing, like, depending on the armor you're wearing, it's like clanking the whole time while you're running. If it's like heavy armor, so like if that stuff is missing, that feels weirdly silent.
Yeah, as I said, it wasn't so much in the exploring, and it wasn't so much in the fighting. That all sounds pretty good. I really mean in the cutscenes where you do have silence, because that's just what a cutscene is. And there I really feel like they didn't finish the whole soundscape of those scenes. That's what it feels like to me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's I'm trying to picture like almost like a half silent movie.
I just have one scene where there was in my head where there was fire. You had 3 sources of fire that were also kind of the vocal point of the scene. You just had like tiny bits of crackling in the background, and not like the kind of bonfire that you would expect from that scene. And I was just sitting there going, this sounds wrong. This doesn't sound like that's actually happening. And that's kind of what I mean.
It's just the fireplace running. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It felt like it just wasn't finished. And maybe I'm imagining this, but that's at least to me. That's at least to me what it sounded like. That something was missing.
When you 100% the game, and like get to the true ending, he actually takes out his earplugs.
I was wondering where that was going.
Yes, he was wearing earplugs. That would make so much more sense.
Cal!
All the explosions and stuff, they are so leveled and everything.
Cal!
Dude. So music-wise, very reminiscent of John Williams and everything Star Wars. That really does sound right. You have a lot of very, very, very intense musical pieces. When I listened to the soundtrack again, I was like, oh my god, all of this is combat music. And you don't really have a lot of the slower ones. But I guess Star Wars in general is a very intense franchise, I would say. Exactly.
So intense.
So intense. But on that note, what I really loved, and what the franchise has been doing more of, that I have noticed in the last couple of years, is really integrate in-universe music. So what the people in the Star Wars universe actually listen to, because you have a cantina, that's your hub pretty much, and there you can find a robot DJ, and he's got to put on all the hottest tracks of the Outer Rim for you. And I really love that. It's not music that I would listen to because it's very electronic mixed with jazz. It's not my thing at all.
Classic.
But I just love that they have that in there now, and that they really are like, yeah, this is the music that is made in the Star Wars universe, and you can listen to this here. I think that is very creative, and I really, really like that aspect.
That is what I would imagine people in the Star Wars universe listen to.
Yes.
We need a first-person Star Wars bounty hunter game where you can just walk into like a cantina and just sit down and just have a drink and then just wait there and just listen to the music and then just be real gruff and then just get up and then you shoot somebody and then mission complete.
Wow.
So you mean like a stealth first-person game?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Hitman, but first person and Star Wars.
Or just give me Prey 2.
Well.
Oh my god. We have thunder and lightning here. That distracted me for a second. I'm sorry. That was very loud. All right, gameplay. So
that just looks like a sign for Prey 2.
Yeah,
give me Prey 2.
It's coming.
It's coming. Prey 2 is definitely happening. So gameplay, as I said, is you have Souls-like combat. So a lot of dodging, a lot of parrying, and then getting in hits when the enemies are left open to attack. And otherwise, it's what I really do like about this one, and what I never liked about the actual Souls games, is this one plays very, very fast. And I always felt like the Souls games were very, very slow. That one attack takes ages to get through. And here it's lightsaber fighting, so it has to be very fast and fun. And that's what it is. The combat is really, really good. They
There's
really
so much it's I was going into some of the stances and skills and just the different things you can do depending on the stance. Like, it's one of those where it's you exit out Skyrim for the first time, it's like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm turning the game off. Like, it's there's a lot, like a
that is
ridiculous
true,
amount.
but you do get those stances very, very slowly. I think the last stance of the 5 that are in there now, I got like 20 hours in.
But even so, I'm only using 2. I'm using the
Yeah.
the
You
dual
do
wield.
have, yes, exactly. You have 5 different stances you can have now, but you can only have 2 active at a time.
Yeah.
So you have your normal one-handed, then you have double-bladed, you have dual wield, you have blaster and lightsaber, and then you have kind of like a two-handed
Blaster.
yeah, a two-handed blaster, two-handed stance that you can get as I said, I got it like 20 hours in or something. I stayed with the first 2. I stayed with the basic ones. I'm a basic bitch. I don't know. That were the ones that felt the best to me.
Is this? I mean, Dave, you could probably answer this better, even though you're only a couple hours in. Is it still just like easy Sekiro? Like, is that?
Yeah, well, it's
or is it like
it's,
more?
It's mainly just based off the parry system and making sure you dodge. I mean, it's obviously Sekiro is not as much into the dodging, but like, you still have your
you have
unblockable, and I don't think you necessarily have like a skill you can get to like step on the blade and like counter that sort of thing. So block, parry, get some good, and then you can do the thing where they have you bring their stamina bar down. They have like a little circle in their chest, and you hold X or whatever it is to do your attack, and it's like a backstab in a way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they have like little cinematics that play every once in a while when you get their stun bar down, and then you take them down in one hit and stuff.
It's like, and some of the bigger enemies, it can be cool too.
Yeah, that's very true. And for the enemies, for the mini bosses, you really have to learn their pattern, their attack pattern, and learn to either dodge them or parry them, and then get your hits in. And that's how I survived the whole friggin' game, even though I'm sure there are better ways to do it. But as I said, basic.
You get a pretty satisfying first boss in this game.
You do.
I will say.
I knew that would happen.
I was waiting for it too, and it happened, and I was just like,
yeah,
fucking gotcha.
Yes.
Been waiting how many years?
Although I will say, and that started in that scene, the morals of this game are a little iffy.
Yeah.
The way they justify the things that Cal does, trying to still paint him as a good guy, I was like,
it's Star Wars.
That starts with the first, but even for Star Wars, I felt like
everyone's a good bad guy. Everyone's a bad good guy.
There's a lot of murder going on, definitely. Where you would be like, maybe I should just lock you up instead.
It's just space Wild West. That's all it is.
Yeah,
and
it is.
For some reason, they have light swords.
They do, and they have fun. I love Star Wars. And I really love this game. What I loved most about this game, though, what I also loved most about the first one, was the traversal. I just think Respawn does such a good job with it, like going around, jumping across, using all your Jedi skills, because you do keep all the Jedi skills that you had gotten in the first game. You have them from the start.
You get into the thing where like you hit your head and you forgot every single thing you learned in the previous game.
That's what fucking Assassin's Creed did every time.
You're not gonna have it to like the level, so like you're not gonna be able to walk up and like force, pull, or push like 3 or 6 droids at once. So it's like Cal's a little rusty, but he's not an idiot. Like,
yeah, see, and you get some. I think only one new one, as far as I remember, and the time stopping works a little different.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, but the traversal for me is really what is so cool about this game. You get a grappling hook very, very early on. And even though it's just another tool for going along
It
the
feels very
written path,
Spider-Man-y.
yes, it just feels cool and it looks cool and it
So,
makes
like,
it all go a little faster.
you do the thing where it's like you have a wall, like the wall you can run on. So like you can double jump up to the wall, you run on the wall, you can double jump off the wall
That sounds
onto
very
another wall
Respawn right now.
if you want.
Yeah.
So there's points where you run, double jump onto the wall, double jump onto another wall, double jump over like a crevasse and like force pull a rope to you and then swing across to the other side and then jump down for like a special attack. Oh, fuck, it's sick. It's
And
fucking
I can tell you that gets even crazier the longer the game's going. Like the way they use all of what they introduce is great.
But
That but
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 there is a new wall climbing mechanic.
yeah, that I could not figure out for the first 5 minutes it told me what I was supposed to do. I was so confused.
For the game that it is, having this 2D Mario ass jump mechanic
Yes.
is the funniest thing to think a
had
5'10" white guy doing. It's literally like a boing 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 boing. Like you're
That
doing that. Like you're
too.
turning around back and forth, but it's like
Okay.
a real
Yes.
dude, not
But
2D Mario.
But you know what you also have to do in order to climb a wall? You have to jump onto the wall. Then you have to jump away from the wall, and then you have to double jump
Back
to
to
get
the
a little
wall.
higher on the wall. That was so unintuitive. That was so weird. And it took me 5 minutes to figure out what I was supposed to do.
Oh,
Yes.
and then you get to the top, and it's like, oh, and then you get up, and it's just like, what? Huh?
That felt a little weird, that one. Also, they showed the mounts in the trailer. And I remember I was like, oh no, the areas are gonna be so huge. You will have to have mounts to get around.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more like these mounts were just used for another type of traversal. And I was really glad about that because I did not like the idea of having every area be so big that you needed mounts to get around. The only one where that really does play a role is on Kobo. And everywhere else, it's not as relevant. And I was glad that that was the case because I like these areas being smaller, but I could explore everything.
Mm-hmm. Still a lot though. Like on that
It's
first
still a
little
lot,
section,
yes.
I still have so many places on Kobo in that first section before Grease to even get to. And I'm running around up and down places, and I'm like, have I been here? Where the fuck?
You can explore a lot of Kobo before you ever get to Greece. I would not recommend it because that just burns you out on the game.
It does. It also does
Very
the Resident Evil thing where it's like, you have done 74.3% of this hallway.
Yes.
It's like,
I like that.
Cool.
I
done
totally
9%
prefer
of this bathroom.
I totally prefer that smaller area of different paths, like just always making sure you're not going down the main path and you'll see mostly everything. Like at this point, I prefer that over the big open worlds generally.
Me too. And still, I think if I wanted to 100% this game, or at least like get all the cosmetics and stuff, I think I would spend another good 10 hours on this game because the areas are big and you can't get to everything so easily.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think the meditation points are placed quite well and you can fast travel between them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that would still take me another 10 hours to do. And I already got a lot of it.
I
because
guess
I like them.
this is the time for me to ask this. Is there still a stupidly unnecessary amount of backtracking through levels?
Yes. Yeah,
Star
I mean,
Wars.
in that aspect, it's like a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
So you will have a lot of paths that are blocked off until you have a certain skill.
So like, I'm fine with that. It's more just the play through this level. Now you have to leave this level, so do it all again backwards.
Yes, especially the Coruscant one. I hated that. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. But still, I think the gameplay is the strongest part about the game overall. It really kept getting me back into it, and that was really like now I finished it on Friday and we record on Sunday, and now that I'm not so I have to finish this game, I actually kind of want to go back and do all the stuff that I haven't done.
Tell me about the shrines.
The shrines.
Yeah, the big puzzles.
Oh yeah, you have like the I think they were also called shrines in Zelda, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have these puzzle rooms type of things. Or yeah, on Kobo mostly.
Like dungeon shrines. So you're doing the same
Yeah.
thing in Breath of the Wild where you're trying to do like and same thing in Fallen Order where you had like the force puzzles of like move this ball, pick this up,
Yes.
put it here. No, not
okay.
there, not there.
I
Yeah.
do think most of them were, I wouldn't call them puzzles, to be completely honest. It was mostly you knew what you had to do. You just sometimes had to try. There was just one where I couldn't figure out what to do, but that was just because the game glitched out on me. So, but overall, I wouldn't really call them puzzles. I would call them, I don't know, like you know what you are supposed to do if you have played video games before. This is not like Outer Wilds where you really have to figure out and think about what you want to do. If you have played an adventure game, you know what you are supposed to do. I would say. I don't know if I would call them puzzles. I don't know. That feels too strong a word for what they are.
I get what you're saying. If you played Uncharted or Tomb Raider, it's that.
Exactly. You know that if you have a ball here, it needs to go there.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but coming off of the absolutely amazing gameplay, let's go to the story. The story is super basic. They played this so safe that you could really see every plot point coming from a million light years away.
I want to say
I was not surprised by a single thing that happened in this game.
I want to say part of it is because it feels like it's an 80s action movie, those are 100% predictable, but from that first cutscene, to which that beginning of the game is dope, like it's sick.
I don't know. I didn't like the beginning of the game, but I don't want to spoil anything about it.
I want to talk about it though, because it's cool.
Is this one of those situations where they're bringing in famous characters from the franchise?
No.
It's just a cool 80s movie thing where it's like Cal Kestis is on the ground with his knees and his hands are behind him, and the bad guy's like, "You're an idiot," and Cal's like, "I'm an idiot," and then all of a sudden it turns around and he's like, well actually you're the idiot," and he just like twist the whole thing. He's like, well actually I knew this, I had this all planned from the get. You're gonna die. And it was cool, like I'm the big cool guy.
That's not what I meant though.
It's predictable. 80 movies are predictable.
Yeah. That part of the beginning is fine to me. But they really, really want you to care about some people there, and it does not work because you know exactly what's gonna happen. And that's
who's gonna die.
And yeah, and that's kind of the thing that's happening through the entire story. The first one didn't have the greatest story of all Star Wars either. it was also very basic. But I feel like I cared about the characters enough that I was like, okay, I'm on board. And I really was a fan of Cal's personal journey and seeing his backstory through the flashbacks, like that Order 66 scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's still with me because that was done so well. And I feel like this game doesn't have a scene like that. They really wanted to make a scene like that, and I know which scene it is, but to me it didn't work.
They really wanted to know Russian.
They wanted it. I don't think they did.
I can't picture Star Wars doing that.
That's what Order 66 is, pretty much.
I don't know Order 66.
Oh my god.
It's where all the clones go crazy and kill all the Jedi.
And there's the most famous scene of Anakin walking in and just all the young Padawans and just his blade extends. And it's like, oh, he's going to kill those kids.
I thought Padawan was a character.
Was what?
No.
Was a character.
No, it's a Jedi learner.
It's like the grasshopper.
Yes.
The clone.
But yeah, they've the villain in the first one, I thought Trilla, the second sister, was so great. I loved her so much. And the villain in this one is so freaking forgettable. I just didn't care. I didn't care about what was happening. And then it got interesting for like 10 minutes. And then it didn't. And then it wasn't interesting again. And I don't know. I just really, I wanted to like this game so much more than I did. And this, as I said, the story it's so basic. And if you have seen two action movies or two Star Wars movies, you will know exactly what's happening here. There's nothing surprising about it. Really, there isn't. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Being able to predict what's gonna happen doesn't have to be a bad thing, but if it isn't done right, it just falls flat. There was another scene that I have in mind that I really cannot spoil because it's towards the end of the game, but where they just focus on the wrong thing in the scene. It could have been very emotional, but they choose to focus on a different thing, and then it just falls apart. And I hated that because I wanted to feel it. I wanted to be there in the moment, and I wasn't. And I don't like it because I like Star Wars, and I want to like this game more.
I don't know how like people like go through these scenes, and there's no way us as gamers are the only ones who point out like, no, it should be this. And it's like, but why isn't it that? And like my biggest issue is with Borderlands 3. They did one of the worst. They set up a really decent like narrative like point. And then they just did the complete opposite, and it absolutely ruined it. And from that point on, the game was shit narratively.
Yeah. And what also works against it is, but I feel like that's also with games like God of War, is that the pacing is just all over the place because so many times you can choose to just not follow the story and do something else and go exploring. And so every momentum that the story built up to that point is then completely lost because you decided to, I don't know, go explore a cave instead of stopping the villain that everyone is just telling you to, like, he's destroying everything, you should go there now, you know. But that's the thing of these like semi-open world games.
The bad guy's killing all the women and children, and then Cal Kestis is like 20 clicks away, like banging on a metal box, trying to see if he can get another set of colors for his lightsaber.
Yes. But that's exactly it. I mean, that's also the problem in like every Fallout.
Where's the fucking ponchos?
That's the open issue, I guess. The issue with open games that you kind of choose your pacing, I guess.
Yes, and that is why I prefer at this point shorter games that just follow the narrative along and that have good pacing. it just works better that way. But I also understand why these games are made like this.
Mm-hmm.
You could
It's also
could not-
Respawn.
Yes, that too. What
Respawn
I
is
like,
they make good things, but they're being pulled from every angle, working on
yeah,
like
I mean,
17 projects at once.
it can't be easy working for EA either, I would
No.
imagine. What I like best about the story is the hub area of the cantina, because you pull a lot of people. You walk around and then you kind of recruit them, and then they just show up in the cantina. And some of them will give you things to do, like go defeat this really big enemy, or go hunt some people that have put bounties on you, stuff like that. Find music tracks for me is also a thing. And you can also talk to these people, and that's where they have a personality, they have a backstory, and if you really want to, you can learn it. And that's what I liked most here, because that's what I really liked about the first game, that it was so character driven. Then because then the story doesn't need to be anything special, you just have the characters you care about. That didn't work as well here, I feel like, because they very much, the whole thing rested on the assumption that you cared enough about the people of the first game and that you bonded enough with them that everything that happens is just, I don't know how to describe it. It just, they didn't put as much care at characterizing these people again. It was just a lot of, oh, this happened in a conversation, and then this happened, but they never show you any of it. It's just like, here, these 5 years or something have gone by since we last saw them, and we're just going to tell you that this happened and that these characters changed in these ways, but you never see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't work.
I
was disappointed in it, and I was disappointed in the ending, because you can really tell they wanted so bad to set up a conflict for the next game that they forgot to put an interesting story in this one.
I already had issue enough in Fallen Order, which I didn't finish, but maybe it's because I'm not like super Star Wars person, but I did not care about the story whatsoever in that game.
Yeah, as I said, the story, even in the first one, wasn't great. I really liked the character, and I liked Cal's character journey. And then this one, for the longest time, he just doesn't have one.
He's got a mullet, though.
Yeah, he does have a mullet, though.
If he has a mullet now?
Yeah, he can have one.
You can collect. There's a customization option for a mullet and a beard or a goatee as well, and you can find that. You can find it about, and then you can have it, and you can.
There's
have
also an achievement. There's like an achievement that you have to have the mullet while you kick someone off a cliff or something, something like that.
That must be a reference to something.
Probably.
He's literally just Theo Von running around space at that point. It's hysterical.
So, yeah, that is my overall review. I don't want to give this one a final score.
Ooh, it doesn't even get one.
Because of all the technical issues. I cannot, in good conscience, recommend this game to anyone in this state.
When we put up our card for the score, can we just put non-applicable?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was playing, just NA, yeah.
Yeah.
Or AA?
No, that's different. It's very different.
And as I said, I played it on the PC, and at this point there's one patch out, and that made things better, but oh my freaking god, I had glitches and bugs everywhere. I had game crashes all over the place, which made me even more nervous, because I was like, I need to finish this game. And at some points it was just like, it won't load now. And then I had to restart my entire PC to be able to play again. And every time you start the game up for 30 seconds, it will do a thing like, we have to read your game file so we can give you the best experience of the game. I cannot skip logos. I cannot skip that step. So until I'm in the game, there's always like 2 minutes have already passed. So, and yeah, the frame rate drops, especially on Kobo in the beginning. As soon as that world opened up, you played with like maybe 20 frames a second or something. It was real bad. When you had fog coming in, oh my god, your PC died. And I have a very good PC. I do. It was not because of that. Every time you walked into an elevator, you had shadows around Cal, like that, like he was motion blurring all the time. I had even in cutscenes, I had BD freaking out on my back, where his foot would go like on my back,
just kicking you nonstop.
Yes.
Cal.
Also, don't ever choose an outfit with a cape. That cape is just gonna get stuck on something, and it's just gonna like stand on your back like crap. I don't know. It just went rigid, and it would not go back.
I have a cape right now.
Until I reloaded
standing
the game.
Straight up, basically, like it.
Yes. I fell through the game world. I had all of that happening. So while I like playing the game and it worked for the most part, it is so noticeable that this game has no polish whatsoever. And that leads me into my first question that I want to pose to you guys is, when have we become okay with the fact that we are QA testers for AAA games?
About 8 years ago.
It definitely feels like it feels like it's getting a lot worse in these recent couple of years, and it's complicated.
It's because the population of the world is too big.
That's not really where I was going with that.
But it's the truth. The population is too big, and there's too many people who are saying things that are wrong, and they get what they want. And so the people who are saying things that are right don't get what they want because there's too many people.
That, I don't really know if that applies.
I actually think it's very, very few people that get what they want, which is money.
But here's the thing. There's too many people who are okay with this kind of shit, and that's why it doesn't change.
But
there
that's
are too many people.
That's where I disagree, because when you do look
more people?
No, when you do look at Steam now, especially in the first 2 days, like this game was at like 31% positive reviews. So people are not okay with this anymore.
No,
and
they also the kind of people that put death threats just because the TV show character is not who they
don't do that.
But that's the thing is, I know that this is an extremely complex issue. But when I see something like, especially with Jedi Survivor, which is one of the things that I found so infuriating, before it came out, every review you saw was so positive.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good improvement on the first one. We had so much fun playing it, blah, blah, blah. There was no talk about all the technical issues. And I just wonder why. Why was that? Did they get a more stable version? Did they not give out the PC version of the game at all?
It could also be like when it comes to previewing a game before release, like especially if it's pre-review copy and we're just like, hey, we're gonna do a preview of the game. Maybe they already go with the minds of like, oh, this isn't finished yet. So there are gonna be those things, and they're just sitting there saying like, yes, there are these things, we know these issues, we're gonna fix them, and then
or like an E3 demo, they just put in a shit ton of work for just a build for some people to play.
That's also true, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of... And then, because right before launch, Jason Schreier put out an interview that he had done with the head of Respawn, like saying something like how Respawn managed to make a AAA game in 3 years when everyone else is taking like 6 or 7 years.
They didn't.
Well,
And where I'm like, they didn't.
yeah.
That's the thing. They didn't. They did not finish a AAA game in 3 years because he can't. And I think that's where my second question comes in, is what do we as gamers need to do to change the situation that we are in now? And I think one of the things is have more patience. That's just stop harassing developers if they take longer. Because with the technology that we are at now, it just needs a longer time.
I'm always going to be anti-publisher. Publishers are always the problem. 100%, they're always the problem. Because of their stupid shareholders, because of their stupid fucking quarterly quotas. It's all that's a big reason of why shit gets so fucked up, because they need their game out by fucking March. It's not going to be done by then. But you need it so your numbers look good, and you can make another shitty broken game in 2 years, and a live service game that's going to go dead in a month.
I also wonder, I mean, these things do take, years to make. And like I said, it feels like it's been getting worse this last year or two, especially with AAA games, to where so many of them are releasing in what seem to be more and more unfinished states, or just having all these technical issues. And that's going even beyond just like, you can say like AAA games are kind of all blending together, playing it super safe and everything. But regardless, I can't help but wonder if there are also still effects of just COVID and how that disrupted the work cycle and disrupted everything. Because these are games that, even if you said, they're gonna sit here and say like, oh, it only took us 2 to 3 years. That was still kind of prime COVID when they started this. So I also wonder if these games coming out now are still feeling the effects of that.
I mean, definitely.
Really, the answer should be, okay,
home.
keep delaying the game, and like delay it as much as you need to actually make it a finished product. But like you said, publishers, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear, no, it's going to come out and we're going to make all of our money.
Yes, but I think definitely COVID is 100% a factor here, because so many publishers were like, okay, these games come out then, and they probably already made accommodations, at least a little bit, of saying, okay, you get a year or two more, but that's not enough to catch all of everything that was lost during COVID. That is 100% a factor. But I also think, like, when I look at a company like Rockstar, who really only publishes a game every 5 to 6 years or even more, when I'm like, but they can do it, but they are also their own publishers, so maybe that is a big difference. But I feel like that's where I'm kind of like, okay, but they know how long it takes, and they don't do that thing of, we're gonna, but they also delayed their games 100%, and we also know that their games were made under crunch conditions, which is absolutely terrible.
They and also, especially recently with, like, you talk about the delay between GTA 5, GTA 6, all that. They have GTA 5 online, which is just a constant
a cash
influx of money for them, to where they are in a situation like, we have endless money. So it's just like, take however long. Like, we don't need just this game to come out right now.
That is true. It's just, I feel like we as gamers just have to accept the fact that we will not get 3 AAA games a year. It just will not happen like that anymore.
I'm fine with that. Like, me too. Fine with that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, stop harass developers. Stop doing that shit. It just makes everything worse. Just be patient.
You got too much time in the day if you're going out to do that shit. Like, I'm busy.
And like that's what I was gonna say. Like, when games get delayed now, like, it used to be like, I would look at it as a delay as like, oh, this fucking sucks. Like, I have to wait long enough for this game. But am so much at the point now of there are a billion games coming out.
Yes.
All this, like every week there are like 2 games coming out where I'm like, I want to check that out. So where it's like, yes, please delay your game. Take however long you need, because there is so much to play.
I'm half and half. My ADHD brain hyper focuses, and then when something gets delayed, I get really, 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 really fucking mad because
I have seen that.
There's the one sole thing that my brain wants, and I can't have it, so I get mad. But at the same time, there are games releasing left and right, and I want to play them all, and I have no time, so I would like more time.
But at the same time, you wouldn't take your anger and then direct it at a developer. Stop pre-ordering games, people.
That's exactly where I was gonna go with. And I am a bit of a hypocrite because there are certain games that, like, if there's a new Yakuza or Like a Dragon, I'm pre-ordering that. The new Zelda game coming out, I have it pre-ordered. Like, there are certain games that I
really have to say, I have been burned so bad by this. I am never gonna pre-order any game ever again.
I used to pre-order like way too much. I used to be like, oh, I'm interested in this game, pre-order. And I have completely stopped that because of that reason, and also just because there's so many games I don't actually play at release anymore, just because time and the amount of games that come out.
You take what Dylan said and times it by 10, and then that's me.
Yeah, you.
Dylan will say, I'll pre-order games left and right. I'll be like, dude, you pre-ordered like 3 games this year. Like, what are you talking about? This is literally my 4th game this month. Like, shut up.
Yeah, but I do think, that the only way that this really, really will change is if they start seeing a financial hit because of it.
Yes, because that's all they care about.
Yeah, if these games keep releasing in this state, but they're making the same amount of money that they would regardless, or they're happy with their money, they're not gonna care.
Nope.
And obviously, and that's the publishers. Obviously, I'm sure there are people on this dev team that worked on this game that very much so know, like, this was not ready. We wanted to fix this, but we didn't have a choice.
I mean, that's just the same thing that happened with Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
like they knew that the game was unfinished and completely unfinished in that case.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, and they had to push it out the door anyway. And that's bad. It's
Publishers
so
are bad.
And that's
so terrible.
The majority of games are not going to kind of have that almost redemption arc that you see some games. So, like, look at No Man's Sky, look at Cyberpunk too. That has really, like, they did put the work in post-launch, but the vast majority of games that release in this state are not going to get that.
Also, I don't know. I think in the case of No Man's Sky, I can make a bit of an exception because that wasn't. It wasn't a AAA game, but it was perceived as a AAA game.
That's true. Also, I guess it wasn't so much that the game was broken. It was more just
lies.
It was more like, hey, here's all this stuff we have in the game, and then that stuff wasn't in the game.
Yes.
Guys, there's a new bee update. There's no bees.
But I have always been very, very conflicted about giving Cyberpunk that redemption arc because it was so bad at launch.
It was really bad at launch, and it is a shame because I enjoyed that game once it kind of like got over that hump, and I was just able to play it. But
I like that game.
It was especially in the old consoles.
It was egregious.
It was so bad on the old consoles. Like,
yes,
so bad.
That's a good game.
Yeah,
those were my thoughts. Thank you guys for participating and letting me derail our little podcast.
No, I think that this is a discussion to be had now because I mean, like, we're gonna kind of talk about it next week, I'm sure too, or 2 weeks from now with Redfall, because that also it's like there are just these games just keep coming out, and it's. I think there's
sad?
Also.
You know what's sad? Redfall is in the state that it is, and people are talking about it because of the way that it is. And apparently, Arcane has stated that this will be their most updated and worked on game.
I think for something like for someone like Arcane, this must be so soul crushing.
Oh yeah, I mean after the other things, and then before even release, they're like, we're really gonna put out patches, we're gonna put out updates, and then the game comes out as shit, and it's like, oh fuck, why did we say that? We immediately want to jump ship.
I also think that there's a difference between kind of like funny technical issues and the game breaking ones, or the ones that it's like if you can't go into an area without frames dropping like crazy and it's like hard to move around, or the game is crashing, like once those start getting in there or quests are broken, that's when it just comes completely unfun. As opposed to like if you just have someone sitting backwards on a chair, that could be like, that's fun.
Yeah,
what's Timmy doing?
I've actually been thinking about this today because that's kind of the excuse we have always given Bethesda, because we've always been it's just a Bethesda game. But at this point, I'm like, now we have to give that exception to everyone. And it's not fun anymore.
No, if it was just Bethesda, there's some fun in that, but when it's everyone, that is true.
Yeah, a good 10 years ago, it's like, oh, they're rubber banding, it's cute. And now every game is suffering, and we look at Bethesda, it's like, what did you do?
You did it. You were the ones.
You made it
comfortable. Everyone
made it okay.
And then Todd Howard comes out. It's never worked. It has never worked.
And it never will. All right, so we had one write-in by, I think that's Scribble.
It is.
SodW Comic on Twitter. And he said, I'm loving it. The thing which I wasn't expecting and I'm already really enjoying is bringing in side characters and doing little jobs for them. I'm a sucker for things like that. I have not done a lot of it, but the fishing character is a personal fav of mine. And I relate. Scuba, I think his name was. He was amazing.
No, I want to meet my boy Turgle. He's the star.
Turgle, yeah, the frog.
Turgle.
Yes, he's the star of this one. That's true. Yeah. As I said, the side characters that you can bring into the cantina, I love them most, and I absolutely agree. Right.
All right.
That was it. Thank you.
Let's do some notable game releases. We have a few. I don't know. Lile, you want to do the first one? I don't know what that is.
Sure. The first one coming out on May 9th for PC only is Panorama. That's another one of these like Dorf Romantic games where you place down tiles and it's like a cozy game where you collect points. Where you collect points and stuff. Yeah. One of those.
Okie dokie. Coming out on the same day, also to PC, is Void Train. This game looks like a lot of fun. It's coming out from EA. I don't know if it's...
Early access.
Early access, not EA the publisher.
I'm sorry, I always do this and I always confuse you.
I'm still not wrong. Early access is EA.
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
AFK. Anyway. AKA. I don't know if it's like
rhymes.
Is it like a roguelike, or are you just going through different gates as you're going?
I think this is survival.
I think it's more like raft on a weird train in a weird.
Well, like what happens?
World.
You die and then what?
That I don't know what happens if you die.
And like how do you? At what point do you go to the next gate? Like, do you choose? Is it all?
Yeah, yes. You
You get 30 seconds per world. Like...
No. The train
you can go back and forth anyway, so you can choose how long to stay in one area.
You could turn the game off and sit in bed.
You could.
You could, but then probably your train would get destroyed or you die.
You could also sit in bed and not turn the game off because The Legend of Zelda Tears or Tears of the Kingdom is coming out on May 12th for the Switch, which you can play in bed if you desire.
That's true. And it's also the reason why nothing else releases this week.
Yes, this Zelda is dominating this week. We will have a review on that at some point. I don't know if I'm going to have it finished because it's going to be a big game. But that's also kind of not the point of the game.
Don't do it to yourself. Just coming from me, having to play this in like a week, just don't. It's fun, more fun otherwise.
Yeah.
It's coming out at a really good time where we're going to be having a lot of extra things going on. More episodes, more website stuff, a whole bunch of writing.
Yep. Perfect.
Exciting.
I mean, I do have a plane where I'm going to a wedding soon, so
even more going on.
Nice. Nice.
Well, it'll be a perfect Zelda time.
Also, for the next 2 months, I have no idea if I'm going to be here or not, so...
You're going to have a lot of... You're going to be busy on that airplane.
Oh.
All right. Thanks, Lyle.
Thanks to you guys. Thanks for participating. It's always a lot of fun. Sorry I was so negative on this one. I really wanted to talk about
it happens.
The state of the game industry in general.
Thanks, Dave.
Games suck.